So what's the difference between property tax and local transfer tax when you're buying a home? Property tax is an annual expense, whereas the local transfer tax is a one-time expense. So when you're buying a home at closing, it's almost like you're paying a sales tax. So let's say if you were to buy, you go to a store and buy a shirt, you have to pay sales tax, right? So when you're buying a home, in similar way, you have to pay a tax on that purchase. So we have three different local tax that you have to pay upon purchasing the home. So we have the county transfer tax, which typically depend on the county where you're buying. That can be either paid by the seller or by the buyer. We have a city transfer tax that usually split between the buyer and the seller 50-50, but not every city will have city transfer tax. For example, San Jose has a city transfer tax, but Milpitas doesn't. And then third is when you're buying a home that is over $2 million, there's an additional transfer tax that needs to be paid, and that will also be split 50-50. And all these three taxes will be paid one time at the close of escrow when you buy the home. However, property tax, you do see that on your closing statement in the escrow as well. However, it is an annual tax that you will have to pay. And initially, when you first buy the home, it typically is the value of the home. And then every year you will get what we call an assessment. They'll say, this year, now your tax is based on a different amount, and there is a cap. So let's say if a home increased in value by 7%, the county is not allowed to charge you a 7% increase on the value of your home. They are capped at about 2 to 3% on that, on the increase of that value of your home you can get. And when you pay tax, it for Santa Clara County is 1% of the value. And then we have a slew of other items that are different measure, different bond that we also have to pay. And then on top of that, our garbage and recycling fee are also part of the property tax. So normally, whenever we do an estimate, we don't estimate 1%. We usually estimate 1.25%. So let's say if you buy a home for about $1 million, you're probably going to anticipate about a $13,000 tax bill, if not more. So that's the difference between a property tax and a local transfer tax. So if you're a first-time home buyer, buying a home can be pretty challenging and scary. However, being a first-time home buyer, there are a few benefits that you'll get when buying a home. And that typically come in different ways. So when you buy a home, you can actually deduct the property tax that you pay every year on your tax return. That's one. And then being a first-time home buyer, there are programs out there that you may qualify for. So most people think, or in general, there's a myth that when you buy a home, you need to down 20%. That's not necessarily true. At minimum, the minimum down payment is 3% actually. It's just that the less you put in a down payment, the higher your monthly payment is going to be because your mortgage or your loan is going to have to be bigger. And so typically for most buyer, whoever able to, when they say they prefer to save a little bit more, so that way on the monthly basis, they don't have to pay as much. But it's give and take. If you put in less, you pay more on a monthly. If you put in more, a down payment, your monthly is going to be a little bit less. Being a first-time home buyer, like I said, there are certain qualifications and certain lender that give you extra benefit for being a first-time buyer. And what is a first-time home buyer? A definition. It doesn't mean that you have never, ever in your entire life owned a home. That is not what it means. Typically, most lender, their requirement is that you have not owned a home in the last 2 years. So let's say if you own a home 5 years ago and you had sold it, you're totally fine. You're now considered a first-time home buyer and you may qualify for some of the first-time buyer program. With home price being as high as it is here in the Bay Area, there are multiple programs and there are multiple organizations out there working toward helping out the average American owning a piece of the American dream. We do have a program where you can you put down 3% and these organizations will help you with another 17% to down pay. And then you get a 80% loan from a typical lender, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, many different lenders. Those are just example. And so it's a great way to help you get into a home without having to put in an extraordinary amount of money as down payment. And with these programs, the 17%, that's technically a loan, and California California have done this quite a few times, and it's a very popular program. I remember I think the first one was about 3 or 4 years ago. Once it was announced, it took about 6 months for all the fun to be all gone. And then because of people would start hearing about it, so the second time when they had funding for it, and I think that's maybe about a year or two ago, it took 2 weeks to earmark all of the fund that was available to buyers. And not just at the state level, we do have them at the county level. So if you're in Santa Clara or Alameda, there are programs available to help you get into your first home. And with these, they give you 17% as a loan. However, you don't have to pay it every month back. It just sit there as a lien on the home. You only pay the monthly mortgage of the 80% loan that you borrow from a bank. And that 17%, you can pay it back whenever you have the money, or you can pay it back at the point when you either refinance the home or when you sell the home is when you pay it back. And there is an interest at the end. They don't charge you interest as you own it. However, there is a profit sharing when you sell the home that you will give to the organizations, and that how they're able to grow the fund so that they can help other people also getting a piece of the American dream. And I worked with these programs quite a few times. I've had engineer client that qualify for it. And the last time I had this couple who are a teacher were able to get into a townhome with this program. So it's always warmed my heart whenever I work with clients through these programs, to see that they're able to get something that they didn't think they could get, and be able to have a roof over their head, and be able to take roots and have, live here and live the American dream, have a home, grow a family, and be, actually live where they work and not have to be a super commuter driving an hour, 2 hour from out the area just to come in. Because I think it's very often, I know that one of the teacher for my son, his fourth grade teacher, drive all the way from Hollister every day to come here into San Jose to be a teacher here. So it's a very tough market if you're not making the mega amount of money with the stock options and things like that. There is hope, guys. So you don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be two income. Well, you do need to be two income. And what I mean is you don't have to make, because typically if you look at the average price for the Bay Area, it's require a household income of roughly at least $400,000 in order to afford an average home here in the Bay Area. So for those who doesn't have that type of job or that type of income, I think this first time buyer program is a phenomenal opportunity to give, the ordinary American an opportunity to own a home. And if you would like to know more about this program, or you would like to see if you can qualify for it, feel free to reach out to me. I have a wealth of resource and the people who do run these programs that I can refer you to or let you know more.